dailynews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded local newscast. We stream to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Newer phones are equipped with a feature that will automatically dial 911 if there is a heavy impact or repeated impact to the device. It's a feature called Emergency SOS, and DeWitt County Sheriff Mike Walker explains this feature is in most new phones, and it is impacting local first responders.
I believe it's called Emergency SOS. It makes it easier to call 911 on these devices, and we really hadn't had a much of an issue with that until recently. And last week we had two within. Well, we had one on a Friday afternoon or Friday morning, then another one on Monday morning. What it is if you drop your phone from a distance and the phone detects that impact and assumes that you've been in a crash or that you've fallen, and it automatically calls 911. The first incident we had was on, like I said, on a Friday morning. Dispatch center received a 911 call from this phone. No response from anybody. Upon callback, no answer. And when they were pinging the location of the phone, it was at an intersection. And so we, being cautious, we assumed that it was possibly an accident, and they weren't able to respond. So we rolled out fire, EMS, and deputies were dispatched to it. And then while we're on the way, they finally made contact with the owner of the phone, and she had left the phone on the roof of her car and drove off, fell off the car, and called 911.
Yeah.
And then that was on Friday. Then Monday morning, same thing happened. For some reason, this lady was driving down 51. She's a passenger in the car, and she dropped it out the window. Same situation. No answer on callback. This time we went up there and found them. They were out looking for the phone. But
if this is something that you don't want your phone doing, explore your settings in your phone to find out if you can disable the feature. Sheriff Walker says these instances are things they have to take seriously in the event there is an actual emergency.
It is a feature that you can research, and you can turn that off on your phone in the settings, and I believe it is emergency notifications or something along those lines. I'm trying to find. You can go in there and turn that off so it doesn't happen. So like on with Android users, you go to your safety and emergency feature, and then go to emergency SOS and turn that off. And then on iPhone, same thing, emergency SOS. And looks like there's a couple of things you gotta hit with iPhones. I'm not familiar with iPhones. I've never had one, never will. It's something that fortunately and unfortunately we got to take those things seriously, and we see something at an intersection or things like that. Especially in rural areas, we're going to treat it like it's it's an accident or something. Now the situation on Route 51, when that one came in, we were able to assume that it was not an accident, because with the traffic on Route 51, if a car had been in a ditch or been in an accident, we would have been receiving multiple calls on that, like we always did.
Sheriff Walker believes some would view the feature as a nuisance if their phone was to accidentally dial 911. Dispatchers would be unable to reach that person for whatever reason, and the next thing they know, there's a first responder at their door. While he believes it's a good intention feature of our modern devices, he also notes it diverts some of the county's necessary resources to other places. At some point in the next month, the Monticello schools will have turfed its football, soccer, baseball, and softball fields as work on those projects wraps up. It's been a multi-million-dollar effort and a multi-month effort. Now the question becomes, what is next at Monticello schools? Superintendent Adam Clapp says it's a question being taken up by the school board.
The next step as far as outdoor facilities is a building at the Wilkie complex that will be on like the it'll be the northwest corner of the track area, just inside the gate there. That'll be a facility that will house concession stand, restrooms, and a weight room there. We're hoping that we're kind of working on that right now, and hoping that the drawings will be finalized in September to go out to bid in October. And then as far as school facilities, we're working through some different options with BLDD architects, looking at potential for growth at our elementary schools. There's always that potential for growth in our community, and the the city has several subdivisions that are going to be developed and are being developed as we speak. So we just want to be mindful of that and have options available if we do need to add on to an elementary school for increased enrollment. We're not there right now, but we are being proactive in looking at those options with our architects. That way, in the case that we would see an influx of students, we'd be able to be flexible and adjust and have plans in place to move forward.
One superintendent called the 1-cent sales tax fast cash, and Clapp points out those dollars in Piatt County have been a huge boost to the ability to take on so much of the work at once.
The sales tax is huge. Obviously, it can be spent on building and facilities, and it's one of those things where we know that through that 1% sales tax, we're going to have about $500,000 to $600,000 in revenue that can be directed towards projects of these sorts. I think when the sales tax was passed years ago, I don't think we anticipated the revenue coming in at this high, but it's one of those things where it allows us to keep our facilities up and running. And, when things break down, we have funds devoted to that to make them right and serve our kids and community.
Some less flashy but still necessary items the district is focused on is security. Clapp says they have a need to improve security in some areas on its campus.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, because that is another thing that we've been working with the architects on, creating secure entryways to our elementary and middle school buildings. Right now, we have a buzz-in system that is in place. But we're looking at increasing, the security at our entryways during the day by adding a vestibule to where when you buzz in, you would buzz into the building and then you would go directly into the office. And whereas right now at the high school, we have that current system in place and it works really well. At our middle school and elementary schools, we think that by adding a vestibule, we could add to our layers of security. So that's another opportunity for our tax dollars, sales tax dollars, to come into play.
For Clapp, he feels it is the little things and the big projects they are fortunate to be able to do to make learning in Monticello better, and he feels fortunate to be a part of leading the charge in those efforts. News time, 17 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. Plenty more to get to coming your way on the WHOW Morning Show.
Looking for a new Silverado? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. Yes, we finally have new Silverado inventory. We have Silverados in 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s with several trim levels. Custom, LT, RST, LTZ, and yes, high countries. This month, get an extra down payment assistance on all Silverados. Baum Chevrolet Buick. We have inventory. BaumChevyBuick.com. Right from the start.
Tune into all of WHOW's platforms on AM, FM, and streamed at IllinoisFarmRadio.com for live coverage of the DeWitt 4-H Fair featuring 4-H'ers from DeWitt, Piatt, and Macon counties, the Farmer City Junior Fair featuring junior 4-H'ers from the area, and reports from the Illinois State Fair this summer. Our coverage is brought to you by Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton, compassionate care close to home. Midstate Eye in Clinton, where they believe life is all about your vision. Mancy Metal in Mount Zion, your pole barn building specialists. Maroa Ag, your growing partner every step of the way. The First State Bank Hayworth branch. And Prairie Beef Association, promoting beef locally. Read all the results from judging at the DeWitt 4-H and Farmer City Junior Fairs by clicking the Fair Results icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
News time, 19 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Wednesday. We stream to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. The condition of the Illinois corn and soybean crop improved this past week. Late June rain swept across central Illinois and helped thirsty crops, says crop statistician Mark Schleusner.
5% of corn acres are now silking compared to 3% 1 year ago and 13% normally. The condition of the corn crop improved and was rated 24% very poor to poor, 40% fair, and 36% good to excellent.
He turns his attention to the soybean crop.
Soybeans were blooming on 25% of acres as of Sunday. That compares to 8% 1 year ago and 18% normally. 1% of acres were setting pods. Soybean conditions were rated 26% very poor to poor, 44% fair, and 30% good to excellent.
Winter wheat conditions improved as well. 77% of the crop is in good to excellent condition. 82% of the crop has been harvested. Average statewide topsoil moisture increased significantly to 19% very short, 13% short, 62% adequate, and 6% surplus. Governor J.B. Pritzker has signed a law protecting hotel workers from unruly guests. The bill came at the request of the industry. Michael Jacobson, president of the Illinois Hotel and Lodging Association, said earlier this year, anger towards employees has been a problem.
Unfortunately, we have seen a troubling trend in which service industry workers are facing abuse from customers. While this is not unique to the hotel industry, it is important that hotels are able to take necessary steps to keep employees safe and foster a positive working environment.
The law, which takes effect in about 2 months, lets hotels toss out guests who refuse to pay, are exhibiting troubling behavior like using a room to let minors drink alcohol, or who pose a safety risk.
Current law does not explicitly allow hotels to remove a customer for verbally abusive behavior. Giving hotels the ability will protect employees' physical and mental well-being and help curb this unacceptable behavior.
Instances where a guest could be tossed out also include failing to pay their bill, damaging property, and using hotel rooms for minors to drink. The Illinois Board of Higher Education said Thursday, U.S. Supreme Court ruling is a step backwards for racial equity at colleges and universities. The court essentially struck down affirmative action, saying race should not be a specific consideration in the college admissions process. Jose Garcia with the State Board of Higher Education says they are disappointed.
We should be ramping up equity effort across the nation, but here in Illinois, we're going to be working with our colleagues and universities to ensure that we maintain our equitable admissions practices and processes and make them more equitable wherever we see room for improvement.
Garcia says they're disappointed in the decision, but they'll continue to fight for equity.
So families here in Illinois can rest assured that we'll be doing everything possible to ensure that our higher education system is an equitable one.
Governor J.B. Pritzker issued a statement saying the Supreme Court's decision to overturn affirmative action is a travesty. The Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs is highlighting a 24-hour helpline for struggling vets. It's called the Illinois Warrior Assistance Program, which offers a free and confidential service for veterans facing a variety of issues. State Veterans Affairs Director Terry Prince says it's a warm helpline.
Meaning that we're not just going to take your call and then transfer you to another service. It's a person who's actually going to help you. And some of the biggest areas I've identified, it's a transition from military service, veterans dealing with PTSD, sexual trauma, TBI, depression, substance abuse.
Prince says the Illinois Warrior Assistance Program takes calls from vets dealing with things like PTSD, substance abuse, and depression, then directs them towards help.
The resources in Illinois are just spectacular, and this is just another way for us to get the word out to people, but moreover, really give them kind of the opportunity to have a case manager, someone to help them navigate through the different resources, and then place them and work with them to get those behavioral health services if they so desire.
The helpline number is 877-455-IWAP. That's 877-455-IWAP. Interested vets can also visit the website illinoiswarrior.org. Emergency food providers are having trouble keeping up with the increasing demand for food assistance. Gary Crawford has this report. This past week, the corn crop did something it has not done since the growing season began. News time, 28 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Wednesday. We stream to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. And news brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters. We take a look at local sports coming your way next. July is really the unofficial kickoff, pun intended, to the high school football season. 7-on-7s, camps, and workouts will be taking place all across central Illinois. And we've got Monticello football coach Coley Welter talking about his team's upcoming 7-on-7 schedule for the month of July as we get set for that August 1st official start to football practices in Illinois. That's coming up in sports. White Sox were in action here on WHOW on your 4th of July. Unfortunately, the fireworks went the opposite way for the Sox last night. Cardinals were in action yesterday afternoon. Not a great day for the Redbirds, but the Cubs pulled out a wild win in Milwaukee over the Brewers. Those stories and more next in sports.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Free speech advocates are applauding a federal judge's action limiting, at least for now, the Biden administration's contact and coordination with social media outfits. 40-year-old suspect in a deadly Monday night shooting in Philadelphia is due in court today. 5 people were killed in that shooting. District Attorney Larry Krasner says the suspect will face multiple counts of murder. 9 people wounded, an early morning drive-by shooting in northeast Washington, D.C. Police say they're looking for a black SUV. Those inside opened fire on people in the streets celebrating the 4th of July. None of the injuries said to be life-threatening, all expected to recover from their wounds. On Wall Street this morning, Dow futures down 175 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Talk today.
With SRN Sports, I'm Ron DeRockstra. Baseball finals from yesterday. The Mariners shut out the Giants 6-0. Astros 4-1 over the Rockies. Phillies beat the Rays 3-1. 10th straight road win for Philly. Mariners over the Giants 6-0. Astros top the Rockies 4-1. Red Sox lose to the Rangers 6-2. There was a hour 47 minute rain delay in the game in Boston. Braves beat the Guardians in 10 innings 6-5. Padres 8-5 over the Angels. The Twins down the Royals 9-3. Orioles fall to the Yankees 8-4. Blue Jays beat the White Sox 4-3. The A's edged the Tigers 1-0. Mets 8-5 over the Diamondbacks. Marlins beat the Cardinals 15-2, while the Reds beat the Nationals 8-4. Pirates beat the Dodgers. Final score in that contest was 9-7. This is SRN Sports. Sergio Garcia will not be going to the British Open for the first time since he was a 17-year-old amateur in 1997. Garcia now plays for Live Golf, and his only path to the Open was a 36-hole qualifier, and he shot rounds of 67 and 71 and missed the cut by 3 shots. 3 Live players, though, did make it through: Charles Schwartzel, Brandon Grace, and Laurie Cantor. The British Open is July 20th through the 23rd at Royal Liverpool. Belgian rider Jasper Philipsen won a mass sprint or in a second straight stage victory at the Tour de France, while Adam Yates kept the race leader's yellow jersey heading into the Pyrenees Mountains. And the Mexican Soccer Federation issuing a statement condemning violence among fans after one Mexico fan was stabbed and another at a Sunday match. The violence came at a stadium in Santa Clara, California, where Mexico's national team lost 1-0 to Qatar. This is SRN Sports.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. The high school football season gets its unofficial start in July with camps, workouts, and 7-on-7s. Tonight, Monticello High School hosts its first 7-on-7 of the month. The Sages host 7-on-7 competitions each Wednesday evening in July. Coach Cully Welter really puts a lot on the schedule for his team in the month of July.
Yeah, so July's pretty heavy for us. We'll have our Wednesday night 7-on-7s, which we've done for about 7 or 8 years now, where we host three teams, play 3 games, and 3 different teams each week. And then we've got a couple 7-on-7 tournaments. We go to Muhammad in the middle of July, and then towards the end of July, we go to Washington. We've done that. That's an overnight trip for us and kind of make it a fun trip. The kids go bowling and hang out. Again, kind of a bonding experience. We have our camp. We're going to Knox College this year, and for a 3-day camp in the middle of July, and then we've got a couple other things that we do. But it's a pretty heavy schedule for us in July.
For the Hall of Fame coach, he looks to the 7-on-7 competitions to install offense and work on their defensive schemes.
I think a lot of the goal is installation and getting reps, so that when we roll around to practice in August, that we don't have to spend a ton of time going over the play concepts, particularly in the passing game. So yeah, we want to get a lot of things installed. We do want to kind of, any new concepts that we like, we would like to use 7-on-7 to sort of tell us if it's something we want to pursue going forward. The last thing you want to do is spend a lot of time on a new play all the way through August and then get the first game and scrap it. So that's the nice thing about 7-on-7 is you gotta get an idea of, hey, this is something we really like, but we'll keep working on it. Otherwise, let's move on. So yeah, there's a lot of benefit to 7-on-7, both offensively and defensively. I think we can get our coverages down as well before we get into practice in August.
Coach Welter has always touted the fact he gets terrific buy-in during the spring and summer workout schedule, particularly from athletes that are not involved in other sports. He says 7-on-7s are the same way.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's important that your kids are there, and yeah, absolutely, because otherwise, yeah, you don't want 75% of the team on board, and then you're still working with the other 25% to get them caught up to get on pace. So yeah, it's definitely important for them to be there. I can't say enough about our kids' participation this summer. It's really good. They're very good about communicating conflicts, but yeah, we get pretty good buy-in, and you're right. I feel like even for me as a coach, I really enjoy 7-on-7. It's a little more laid back. It's still competition, but it's a great opportunity to get some things done and have fun at the same time.
Monticello will host the 7-on-7 competitions on its new turf at the main football field on campus. Coach Welter has been very pleased with the way that renovation that was completed during the spring has improved their summer programming. In a game heard here on WHOW, Vlad Guerrero Jr. hit a 2-run homer in the 8th inning, and the Toronto Blue Jays edged the White Sox 4-3 on Tuesday night.
The White Sox return home to Guaranteed Rate Field on July 4th to start series with the Blue Jays. They dropped the first of 3 games 4-3, but Luis Robert Jr., who has been making magic happen all season long, continues his all-star campaign with a 25th home run of his season.
Here it comes. Swing and a blast. Deep left center. It's gone. And they lead 3-2.
Sox got a really good start from Lucas Giolito. 6 innings, 2 runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. He got a no decision. Blue Jays closer Jordan Romano shut down the White Sox 1-2-3 in the 9th to preserve a 1-run lead. Sox will do it again on Wednesday night against the Blue Jays. Our pregame show at 6:30 and first pitch at 7:10 on the Hard Rock Casino White Sox Network.
In some White Sox injury news, right-hander Michael Kopech, who is sidelined with right shoulder inflammation, remains on course to return soon after the All-Star break. According to GM Rick Hahn, the team planned to give him some extra rest, but decided to put him on the 15-day injured list after a loss to the Angels. last week. Third baseman Yohan Moncada, who is dealing with lower back inflammation, will continue to ramp up activity in hopes he will be ready for a rehab assignment following the All-Star break. The Sox hope to have closer Liam Hendricks, who is out with right elbow inflammation, throwing off a mound by the weekend. And Hahn says right-hander Mike Clevenger is expected to throw a sideline session on Saturday. He is dealing with right bicep inflammation. Assuming no setbacks, he is set to return after the All-Star break. And again, hear tonight's action right here on WHOW. Left fielder Ian Happ threw out 2 runners at the plate in extra innings, and the Chicago Cubs pulled out a wild 7-6 win over the Milwaukee Brewers in 11 innings Tuesday after squandering a late lead for the second consecutive game. Dansby Swanson homered. Miguel Amaya hit a 2-run double to help the Cubs build a 6-2 cushion, but the Brewers scored twice in the 8th and twice more in the 9th to tie the game. In the bottom of the 10th, pinch hitter Andrew Monasterio was placed at second base as the automatic runner. He tried to score the winning run on Owen Miller's one-out single to left, but was cut down at home by Happ on a call that stood. Following a replay review, Miller was thrown out trying to advance to second, ending the inning. Chicago went ahead in the 11th. Automatic runner Cody Bellinger moved to third with 1 out on a wild pitch by Clayton Andrews after Amaya struck out. Nico Horner beat out an infield single to put the Cubs up a run. With 1 out in the bottom half, Miller tried to tag up from third and score the tying run on Bryce Terang's pop fly to left, but was thrown out at the plate by Happ to end the game, setting off a celebration as the Cubs players poured out of the dugout, halting a 3-game skid. Kyle Hendricks gave Chicago a solid start, and Daniel Palencia got the win in his big league debut. Hendricks gave up 4 hits and 2 runs. 1 was earned in 6 innings. He walked 1 and struck out 5. The loss drops Milwaukee to a game behind first place Cincinnati in the NL Central after the Reds beat the Nationals 8-4 earlier in the day. The Cubs place infielder Nick Madrigal on the 10-day injured list with a right hamstring strain and activated Patrick Wisdom from the 10-day injured list. Brad Boxberger was transferred to the 60-day injured list. All-Star lefty Justin Steele starts today for the Cubs opposite Adrian Hauser in the 3rd game of the 4-game set. Steele is 1-2 with a 2.23 ERA in 11 career games and 10 starts versus the Brewers, while Hauser is 1-2 with a 5.14 ERA in 6 career starts against the Cubs. Jesus Sanchez homered, singled twice, and had 4 RBIs as the Marlins beat the Cardinals 15-2 in another short outing by starter Adam Wainwright on Tuesday. Jorge Soler and Joey Wendell each doubled twice. Garrett Cooper went deep and had 2 singles for the Marlins, who finished with a season high in runs against Wainwright and 4 relievers. Marlins starter Jesus Luzardo struck out 8 in 6 scoreless innings. Miami's Luis Arias went 1 for 3 and walking twice, dropping his big league batting average to .387. Wainwright had his 3rd consecutive outing of less than 4 innings. He was lifted after consecutive 1-out walks in the 4th. The 41-year-old gave up 7 runs, 4 were earned, and 7 hits. Position players Alec Burleson and Jacob Stallings pitched for the Cardinals and the Marlins. Burleson got the last 2 outs of the 8th, and Stallings allowed Lars Nootbaar's RBI single, while Tommy Edman had a sac fly in the 9th. The Cardinals have not announced a starter for the 3rd game of the series Wednesday, while the Marlins will turn to right-hander Brian Hoeing. Get sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio weather forecast, sponsored by ServPro of Piatt and DeWitt counties, offering cleaning, restoration, and construction.
Cloudy skies today with a chance for scattered